This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Germany and Italy told companies they could open ruble accounts to keep buying Russian gas without breaching sanctions against Moscow following discussions with the European Union, sources said. The debate over Russia's demand that foreign buyers pay for gas in rubles has tested the resolve of European governments to take a hard line against Moscow over the war in Ukraine. Poland, Bulgaria and Finland have refused to comply with Moscow's demand that importers pay for gas via ruble accounts with Gazprombank, and their supplies have been cut.
China is quietly ramping up purchases of oil from Russia at bargain prices, according to shipping data and oil traders who spoke to Reuters, filling the vacuum left by Western buyers backing away from business with Russia after its invasion of Ukraine in February. The move by the world's biggest oil importer comes a month after it initially cut back on Russian supplies, for fear of appearing to openly support Moscow and potentially expose its state oil giants to sanctions. China's seaborne Russian oil imports will jump to a near-record 1.1 million barrels per day, BPD, in May, up from 750,000 barrels of oil per day in the first quarter and 800,000 barrels of oil per day in 2021, according to an estimate by Vortexa Analytics.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
China's crude oil imports from top supplier Saudi Arabia soared 38% in April from a year earlier, hitting the highest monthly volume since May 2020, according to Reuters calculations based on official Chinese customs data. Saudi shipments amounted to 8.93 million tons last month, equivalent to 2.17 million barrels per day, BPD, according to data from the Chinese General Administration of Customs. The hefty purchases, with trades completed mostly in February, compare with 1.61 million barrels of oil per day in March and 1.57 million barrels of oil per day a year earlier.
Oil prices settled slightly higher on Friday as a planned European Union ban on Russian oil and easing of COVID-19 lockdowns in China countered concerns that slowing economic growth will hurt demand. Brent futures for July delivery rose 51 cents, or 0.5%, to $112.55 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude for June rose $1.02, or 0.9%, to settle at $113.23 on its last day as the front month. WTI notched its fourth straight week of gains, which it last did in mid-February. Brent gained about 1% this week after falling about 1% last week. The more actively traded WTI contract for July was up about 0.4% to $110.28 a barrel.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Global primary aluminium output in April was unchanged year-on-year at 5.599 million tons, data from the International Aluminium Institute (IAI) showed on Friday. Estimated Chinese production rose to 3.29 million tons in April from 3.257 million tons a year earlier, according to IAI data.
Slowing demand in China due to COVID-19 restrictions has put the brakes on lithium's red-hot rally to record highs, but long-term demand from makers of electric vehicle batteries is expected to sustain prices. China's zero-COVID policy means restrictions to limit infections are still in place, hobbling factory activity and disrupting supply chains. Full story. Electric vehicle batteries can use lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide, but the industry typically talks of lithium carbonate equivalent, LCE, which contains both. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Indonesia will reimpose a domestic sales requirement on palm oil, the government said on Friday, a day after the world's biggest producer of the key edible oil reversed a ban on its export. President Joko Widodo's government has made several reversals on palm oil policy since November. The late April export ban, an attempt to control high domestic cooking oil prices, shocked global edible oil markets and angered farmers as their product prices fell. Palm oil, used in everything from margarine to shampoo, comprises a third of the world's vegetable oil market, with Indonesia accounting for about 60% of supply.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.